Live.
Yeah.
And let's give everyone a few seconds to tune in. And we should be live anytime soon, okay? So we're live here. Um, Hello, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful time here at TestMu. So far, we are almost at the last leg of the conference, and we are delighted by your response. I am Sudhir, and I'll be host for this session. Before we start the session, we would genuinely like to thank all our partners for supporting and promoting us for this event. So let me introduce you to our session speaker, Laveena Ramchandani. Laveena is a passionate test manager who has been testing for nearly over 10 years and is always seeking to learn and share. She is a testing leader who has always supported her team and women around the world by providing mentoring sessions. Being a STEM ambassador, she has lectured about how women can get into the world of the IT. Laveena was a finalist of the Digital Star 2022 at the Every Woman in Technology Awards. She has also been on the various podcasts and blogs as part of the Coders Guild. When testers advocate for embedding accessibility testing within their teams, they can make the product more accessible and reduce the risk of bad product review while being more socially aware. That is exactly what we are going to listen to Laveena's talk today. I'm eager to learn more about you, and I'm sure you are. Please welcome Laveena. Over to you, Laveena.
Thank you so much, Sudhir, and thank you, TestMu Conference, LambdaTest. I'm really excited to be on this platform today, and I'm very happy to be sharing this topic with all of you because I do know that this topic sometimes gets less attention, or it doesn't get the right attention either. So let's try and let's learn about that then. So let me share my screen. Okay, there we go. So I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so welcome to my talk on how to bring accessibility into your teams. So I've written A11Y. That basically is a shorter version of accessibilities because between the letter A and Y, there's 11 characters. So that's how we write accessibility in short. A little bit about myself. Apart from what Sudhir had introduced me as, I've been close to 10 years now in the testing community. I've studied computer science and fell into testing. I am an avid blogger, so I do blog quite a bit with quite a few testers around the world. I speak internationally. I host testing events. I'm a trainer at the Coders Guild where we train individuals about testing and what testing is all about and how can they land on their first ever job. I am currently working at 𝒂𝒃𝒐𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒆 and I'm also a coach for results. So if ever you are kind of willing to understand how can you get to your kind of end goal or your results in a better way, feel free to shout out. You can find me on both LinkedIn, Twitter as well. So today's table of contents includes in three different parts. Part one will be some background knowledge on how I got into accessibility, why accessibility is important, the benefits of accessibility. Part two is how did I bring accessibility into the team, coaching your teams because it's not very easy to bring something and bring that massive change so quick. And then finally, when to do accessibility and the tips that come with it. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. This is by Tim Berners-Lee, and actually the best thing that describes accessibility as well. So let's get started in part one. Did you know these were the numbers around the world of disabled people who can actually work? So they may have a temporary situation. Maybe they've got a temporary fracture, maybe a lady is pregnant, maybe she can't access a system closely, or maybe they've got a long-term sort of disability like eyesight, maybe like for me, for example, like I'm wearing my glasses. So it depends, but they can actually work. So there's a massive amount of numbers. It's in thousands and millions. So we need to think about them. And it made me really, it shook me actually when I saw these numbers, and I was like, what are we doing for these people? Are we actually making it simple enough for them to actually do their day-to-day work or not? And that's how it got me more intrigued, and I started kind of bringing this into the team. Color blindness in the UK, for example, it affects 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women worldwide. 8.4 million people of the working age between 16 and 64 reported that they were disabled in the months of October to December 2020, which is not really, it's pretty early dates. This is 2020 was just 2 years ago, which is about 20% of the working age population. So we have about 52.3% of disabled people that were in employment. So just by these few stats, I want you to start thinking of, what are we doing for them? Are we actually making it accessible or not? Are we being socially aware or not? So, my question, are we making it accessible for them? For individuals with a disability, for individuals without a disability, technology makes things easier. For individuals with a disability, technology makes things possible. So, my glasses today are my assistive technologies. If I do not wear my glasses today, I can see the screen, but I won't be able to see anyone far away. I wouldn't be able to see the things around me. They'll all look hazy. So, what do I need to do? What is my company helping me with? Like, I know many companies provide you with eye care vouchers, or they pay for your eye tests and stuff like that. That is making it accessible. So there may be other people that may need other sort of support, and are we actually supporting them? Whether that's an ergonomic chair for them because they've just had a fall, or maybe they need a specific mouse because of their hand movements. So this is something that we need to start thinking within our teams, within our culture of the company, and add it as part of a value of our company, and also for our applications as part of a definition of done. Because we need to think far ahead. We need to be socially aware. We need to involve a bigger audience, not just a smaller audience. The more, the merrier, as I say. Right. So these are some examples where it went wrong. For very simple things like, I'll take Parkwood Entertainment, which is Beyonce's website, and there was an individual who was trying to buy a ticket for her concert, a massive fan of Beyonce, and couldn't actually buy the ticket online. Tried to navigate with a speech application over the website, and couldn't really book a ticket. So it took only one person to sue the website. And same for Domino's, same for Amazon, for Nike, and Netflix. So it's just one person who can actually take a massive step, right? And we want to make sure that someone can order a pizza, someone can actually watch Netflix series with accessibility on. You can order things on Amazon, you can buy things from Nike, but be comfortable when doing so as well, not just like have to make ways of doing things, but be comfortable to order a pizza, be comfortable to add toppings there with your speech recognition options. So it just takes one person to actually sue, and all of these companies were sued, but just by one or two people. So it's just it's a food for thought for us that what can we do to improve this? And the companies that have done it right are NHS, for example, which is the National Health Service in the UK. All their websites are WCAG recognized, they follow the standards, and it's a massive tick. Tesco as well, supermarket, has a really good reputation when it comes to accessibility. And so does Legal and General, the insurance company. So these are just examples, but there are loads of companies. You can look into loads of case studies as to how they do accessibility in the best way possible and see if you can adapt it in your teams. So, how did I get introduced to accessibility? So, I was actually working for a bank and we went live with an open banking system. And the test manager came running into the room saying, "Have we done accessibility testing?" And I was like, "Hang on a second, what even is accessibility? Like, I'm hearing this for the first ever time in my life." And no one, not even the technical lead, no one mentioned about this, even though we're going public with this app and we want people to use it. That's when everything went a bit upside down. And we had that pressure that we need to test for accessibility, making sure that everyone can use the open banking app, not just the people without a disability. And that's where I learned about accessibility. And I put my full heart and head into it to basically give the best I can. So I started pairing up with developers to see how the speech recognition happens and how the transcript is forming as well, because sometimes you have a speech recognition tool, but the transcript, they're not picking each and every word or wherever you're tabbing. So that was important because we found a few bugs there, and just general checks on Lighthouse, for example, on Google Chrome. So I thought this was a fantastic topic. I thought I have not been aware of this, and thank God that through this situation, even though it was unfortunate, we went live. But I came to know about a new type of testing, which is non-functional testing. And when I started researching, I started understanding that not many products actually focus on accessibility as a first thought. So, something to ask all of you, maybe you can write it on the chat, just a yes or no. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of accessibility? Or this is the first time that you're actually coming to know about it? That would be nice to know, because I'll scroll up later and see how many yeses and nos I got. Thank you. And then some useful resources and advocates. So there's a lot of useful resource online. You can actually check the WCAG standards in the UK and also the VPAT, which is American. And you can actually start comparing the standards. You can try and introduce different types of things that you like from different types of standards as well. Advocates, you can actually ping me if you're confused with anything. There's AD Stokes as well. There's Marie Drake, Lysandra Armas as well. So it's actually there's a lot of people actually sharing about accessibility that I'd like to kind of invite you to go and search and read their blogs as well. So why is accessibility important? So number one, community relationships. You need to build a community relationship with people like Tesco, for example. We do shopping online. Everyone in the community, like majority of people, are shopping on Tesco. So they are trying to make it accessible for everyone. And that basically means they have a good reputation. So if you're building an application which has a UI, you need to think about reaching a wider community. Of course, it's smart business wise because you're not just reaching a small audience, you're broadening your audience. Of course, it's innovation. You're driving innovation because products that are not there yet, your product is the one that's going to take most attention from everyone. Or a competitive product as well, because a competitive product might not have gotten there yet, but yours has. In terms of branding, it helps enhance your brand. So it makes the brand look really good because you're not just creating a useful application, but you're actually doing one step ahead. You're being socially aware. Market research, so you can extend market research to find out more about people. This can also aid in your usability. You can actually get people who have a disability to actually give you usability feedback on your application. And legalities, minimal legal risks. So I always say catch your legal risks before they catch you, because as I said, it takes one person only to actually find a fault that they can't actually use your application and do what they want to do. They might go to a competitor application or actually end up suing because they wanted to do something and they couldn't actually get to do it. So these are some of the important aspects. The benefits out of these important aspects is that you reach a wider audience. You try and increase usability. As I said, you don't just get feedback from the audience that you're expecting to get feedback from, but you can also get someone with a disability to come and tell you how are they feeling about going through this application emotionally and logically. How do they think? Is it good or not? And again, it satisfies current and future legal requirements and ethics. So you're ethically proved, like you tick off that bit, and improves maintainability and efficiency. If you start this earlier, actually, there's less costs involved. If you start this at the end, when the product is like the POC is complete or the product's created, then it can be a bit difficult to rewind back and enhance the parts with the front end developers where they have to add accessibility. So I would say shift accessibility to the left, and then you have more maintainability and efficiency as well as cost savings at an earlier stage. Maybe as a POC, you might not want to have accessibility at the start, but at least have the conversation starter that this is just a POC, but we would like to bake in accessibility as part of this application because it's going to be something that the users are going to use, or your own people within your team might use, and someone in your team might be colorblind, someone in your team might have a broken arm. So are we actually helping them tab through? Things like that. So you need to think about these things. A little video for you. Right. So I found this really funny and at the same time very confusing. This is renovations at my home, and the previous owner had just a door handle in the entrance of the room. So you can enter the room with the door handle, which is comfortable, it's accessible. But how do I get out? Luckily, I had working gloves, and through the gloves, my nails were really long as well inside. So I could kind of get my fingers through and open it up. But someone could potentially even be stuck in there because how do we do it? Do I call someone from downstairs to come and open the door for me? I'm just making life difficult. So can you imagine how many people get trapped on your websites or your applications? It's just really, really interesting to think about this. This is the analogy of me being trapped in a room, but can you imagine someone on the application? It just makes it difficult, isn't it? It just makes them think, do I really want to use this application? It's not really helping me, it's trapping me. I can't do what I want to do. And I'm just going to use another website. So that's one clientele gone. So you need to think about these things. Part 2. How did I bring accessibility to the team? Okay, so you need to kind of start talking about accessibility within your team. Bring some sort of awareness. Use the buzzwords accessibility, standards, right practices, in part of definition of done, shifting to the left. Bring these things in because otherwise, maybe there are people in your team who are not even aware what accessibility is all about. I personally created some informative slides to introduce what accessibility was all about to the technical head at that time. And then I got a buy-in straight away, and I was told to kind of represent this to a wider team. Communication. So communication is the big thing. Work on yourself and what you want to convey, because sometimes we are under the impression that whatever I'm telling you today in this conference, you're getting it 100%. But there may be a percentage of people who are still quizzed, like who are still kind of curious about what is Laveena actually trying to say. So work on yourself because you want to kind of sell an idea that will be beneficial for the product as well as the reputation of the company as well. So working on ourselves is also important here. Teams, speak to individuals and teams to see what their thinking is. Maybe there might be someone in the team, maybe a developer, maybe a BA who's done accessibility in their previous experience, and they could share some sort of ideas with you. So you can actually have some sort of resource within the team to come and help you. Of course, you do some research and suggest options. So don't just do like an accessibility report from Lighthouse or Wave or Axe and just provide them the output, but also give them suggestions. So if this contrast colors are not working, what's the nearest color that is actually accessible? So this will then help the UI UX team, the design team, and then the front-end developer, all they need to do is actually go and change the color code. Or actually, as a tester, if you've got the experience to go into code, change it, and then merge that request, then why not? You can also do it too with the approval of your team. And then at the end, you can create a report. So a report with suggestions as well. So I actually broke down the report into various parts of an application end to end. So I started from the login page, then I went on the statistical page, then I went on the config page. I did each and every check and gave them percentages of how good the accessibility is on each page and what would the suggestions be. So that's something that helps the wider team understand where can they actually help and how. So team coaching. So of course, it's easy for me to say that go and do this, go and do that, and it will be fine. But how do I know that it's actually going to happen? You need to coach your team. So what do? I deliver information. I become an SME or an advocate for accessibility. So people will start approaching you. Now, how do I convince is the big one. By explaining accessibility and making sure I deliver the vital details, because you need a buy-in. You need to show them some sort of result, some sort of backing. Like, I've done this research. I found that so and so things are not accessible. They're not double A standards. Actually, it's a single A. And our standards in our strategy suggest that we should be double A. So what can we do to become double A for this actual feature? Show them these things. How to back my points. So I can take outputs of my research and reports, so screenshots, video recordings, actually do a live accessibility session or workshop with everyone and see what they think. I'll be very honest, all the tools that I've used are free of cost, so nothing to worry about that. How do I know they understand? So what information they understand or find as blockers is something that I need to speak to them and see what they think. Because sometimes what happens is they may say yes, 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 but they're not fully understanding, or there might be an impediment which we didn't think initially, like, say, for example, the costs that might incur to go back to the development and put best practices for accessibility. So we need to think about all of these things and then factor these things in and then create features in the backlog and then continue from there. When and how to do accessibility testing. So I would suggest start in the design or planning phase, because I think it's a good phase to start, and the requirements as well. So these are the early stages in a life cycle, and you can actually get a lot of information at the very early stage. And once you have provided this, your features are planned accordingly with the right kind of points, right efforts, and everyone knows what to actually expect. So I would say as early as possible. This way we shift accessibility to the left and it's baked in as part of the product quality. The good old budget. So because of the budget, would you rather risk it? Because as I said, it just takes one person to actually go and not like the product or actually go and sue. So I would say think about it. I would say bring it in as soon as you can. Also, you want to reach out to more people, you want to be socially aware, and with that, be a brand that is known for accessibility and that can reach many people. There are free tools available, so don't worry about the budget. Everything that I've used today is free. And at the end of the day, accessibility is very important. So what to include in my accessibility report as well? So this is an important one because anyone can make a report and just showcase accessibility, but it's important to show what you're researching and what can you suggest with it. So areas you tested, you can just pick one area. You don't have to pick the entire application. Mention why you concentrated in that area when reporting as well, because maybe it is a critical part, maybe it's a payments section, or maybe it's a login system. Up to you. The results, show your results of your checks. So what did you get out of it? So I would suggest don't use one tool. If you're using Lighthouse, use Axe with it, or Wave, or Arc Toolkit. Just use a backing of tools, and then provide some sort of suggestions. Anything, it could be color, contrast related, headings related, anything that you think would be the right thing to put there, because what it does, it makes the UI and UX teams thinking process slightly easier, as well as the front end developer. So you can do your suggestions. Maybe they won't get accepted, but at least you showed an initiative as well. So that's good always. So the results that you get out of those reports, you become an SME and advocate, as I explained earlier. You're spreading more eminence. You're going around telling people accessibility is vital. You feel accomplished as well because team members start approaching you. Like, for example, at Deloitte, the UI designer, she kept approaching me. She said, could you please test my design? And then I'll move it into the backlog. And then you are kept in loop always, so which is really, really good and accomplishing. So follow my steps. I would start with step number 1, to research what accessibility is and how could you and your team benefit from it. Test your application, have some details to showcase, prepare an informative session, discuss with your team, have accessibility as part of your testing approach, and be alified, if that word even exists. So I would suggest follow my steps. A quick check and tips for you here. So you can start using these plugins right away, actually, today, if you like. Arc Toolkit, which is really good because it gives you the way you should travel through, or the journey you should have through a system. It tells you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I tested an application which was all over the place. So it was not really good. You can have Axe, you can have Wave, Lighthouse, remove styling, because there's a small percentage of people who don't like using images on their websites because of the bandwidth. So they prefer to kind of remove images so that they can control their system better and quicker. So try and remove images, see if you can actually still do your transactions. Screen readers, you've got one in Windows machine, in MacBooks, and even you can use NVDA or JAWS. On the right side, you can see that you can actually add some throttling, how your application works with fast 3G, slow 3G, offline. And so if it's giving the right sort of error messages to people. You can add emulation for vision deficiencies for people who have color blindness. So these are the options. And as well, you've got the contrast ratio. So you can see for a color that I was checking, I got 12.63 with double ticks. That means I'm AA and AAA approved. Sometimes you see a complete red with a no-go zone. That means your color that you chose in the contrast is not accessible. Where you can check this, so on your dev tools, when you right click, go to the color options on your code, and then it will pop up with these options. So this is something for you to take away. Right, 4 principles of accessible content. So can I perceive it? Can I use it? So you can see someone's got a fracture, but can they still use it? Can I grasp it? Is it logically understandable or not? And can I access it? Can I actually feel, touch, see how can I emotionally connect to this application? Is it robust enough? So these are the things to think, because if you can't do any of these, then I think your content is not accessible and it needs attention. Here is a little video for you as well, a little analogy. So I'm trying to make a cupcake in a cup, a mug. So a mug muffin, something like that. It was all over Instagram, so I was like, why not try it? And I wanted to use this video for my presentation as well. So I've actually made the cake now, but I'm putting the blueberries at the end. Now, this doesn't really make sense to me. I was making a muffin with blueberries inside it in my mug. So why am I adding blueberries at the end? That just explains how many products get accessibility added at the end. It doesn't go well. It looks like that in front of you. So I would say bake in your blueberries with your muffin, just like you should bake in accessibility as part of your strategy and definition of done whenever it comes to any front end facing applications, as well as apps within your team that the team members are using. So it doesn't have to be a B2B or a B2C issue. Everything should be accessible wherever possible. So, a little summary for all of you. It's really important to understand accessibility. It is an exciting topic for sure. How to introduce this to your respective teams. What can you do actually? Some useful tips and tools that I used with you today, or showed you, sorry. And accessibility is not an afterthought. Make sure it's brought in earlier so we can actually capture loads of issues before rather than later and have extra added costs, which we didn't anticipate. So that's that. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't waffled through, but yeah, I'm open for any questions now.
Okay, that was a wonderful session, and thank you so much for that, Laveena. And in fact, I hope all our audience found this session insightful and I love those four principle theory that works pretty well. So it's time to address some questions on the Q&A, and I will be popping them up on the screen here in a moment. So we have first question from Abhinash, which says, who asks, what's your opinion on running automated tools for accessibility testing? Is it enough?
Yeah, so you can actually automate Axe on Cypress. It's pretty easy. It gives you similar results to what you could do in the plugin. So I would suggest start manual, start feeling it first, and then actually go and automate it on Cypress. There's loads of options on Ministry of Testing website and YouTube as well. Marie Drake actually did a video, so go check it out. There's loads of options for you.
Great. The other question we have from Tamalika is, where do I start from? Any course book of articles? I mean, that's the one that you just referred to, or there are more she can kind of refer to?
Yeah, there's loads. Like I would say search AD Stokes. He's written loads of blogs. If you go on Medium, I'm on Medium, so I've written blogs on accessibility. So I'd definitely say go read about that. There's a really good book as well, The Design of Everyday Things. I would say actually, if you get a chance to read that, because it tells you how you should think about designs, just like door handles and everything, like the basics, the push and pull. Sometimes, like when it says push, I'm pulling, it's just how our brain reacts, is the cognition, and how do we want to use that in the right way for our applications. So yeah, things like that. So I would say check out the book, The Design of Everyday Things.
Thank you. There are some questions which is already answered through your slides. I'll pick the one from Arun, who asked, what are the certification required available for accessibility?
So I haven't done any certification, if I'd be very, very honest with you guys. I've actually learned by other testers, pairing with them and understanding how I can help people through that. I haven't done any certification, so I'm sorry. I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I don't think personally you might need a certification. I think practice, practice, practice. Play around with the tools that I've suggested, and see what you learn. Again, there's loads of videos of people trying to use these tools. They are giving tips in their videos as well, so you can actually learn on the job and feel good about it. Like, you don't have to go through a certification.
Thank you. The next question we have from KR is, what is the extent of accessibility testing when you call your web app or yourself as a pro?
So what do you mean, what is the extent?
I guess I'm just reading the question is when do we call that our site or our application is completely accessible, has all checks across the parameters?
Absolutely. So I would say, first of all, as a company, you need to decide for your application, which standard are you going to follow? Is it going to be the single A, the basic, the double A, or the triple A? When you have ticked off most of the options from that, then only you can say that you are accessible enough. However, I would also suggest quite a few companies outside third parties do accessibility audits, if you can call them. They would be able to give you a massive tick, and you're going to have something in a certificate saying that you're accessible. But if you don't have the budget, then there's some sort of charity accessibility firms as well who won't charge you, but they'd come every year to see how accessible your system is. So either, if depending on your budgets, I would say look into these things and get the audits done.
Great. The next question is, you in a way already answered, but I think it's still worth answering, is, how sufficient Lighthouse score is. Is that a good considerable across the score across the industry? What your suggestion on that?
Yeah, so I would never ever use just one tool. I sometimes feel like Lighthouse gives me one answer and Axe gives me another. So I'm like, I can't believe one of you. I need to check another one. So I always tend to use either Axe as a backup or Wave, because it gives me a better breakdown of things. Even though Lighthouse gives you breakdown, but it's not at that extent. It's just a high level. But Wave actually gives you so many little pointers on the website that you can actually deep dive into them and actually sit with the front end developer and tell them, look, this is particular, this ARIA label is the one that is really not the right one. Can we do something to improve it? So I would say don't use just one tool. Try and use another one as well. Same for the automation. You can have Axe automated, but there's nothing stopping you from using Arc Toolkit just to see the journey is done in the right way. Like your website looks like a user can actually have a nice, simple journey from top to bottom.
Great. And I guess what you're recommending is complement Lighthouse with other tools, right, to make it a
Absolutely,
more
absolutely. Have a
comprehensive.
backup. Yeah, yeah.
Understood. Next question we have from Emmanuel is, what is the main difference and concerns between testing accessibility on desktop and mobile?
Differences are obviously the systems, right? One's mobile, one's desktop. So I have never tabbed on a mobile before. So that could potentially be a situation where someone can get trapped. Again, systems, the way they work on a mobile versus desktop can differ. So I was actually filling in a SurveyMonkey form on my phone last week. It was easily done. When it came to desktop, I couldn't do it. I'm not sure what happened. Website was a bit broken on desktop or something. So clearly, if someone was had some sort of accessibility situation here, that person would not even continue with it, because it's just you can't say that your product is top quality when it's not working in both parts.
Yeah.
So I would say you can still use Axe automation on mobile. So use that versus Axe on desktop and see what differences it gives you, and see what you can do about it, and have a strategy of what you're going to accept to mobile levels and what are you going to accept to desktop levels as well, because they're two different things. They can't be 100% the same.
Great. The next question, which I still feel, of course you answered it, but I guess considering we do have some time, would love to hear more thoughts. Is Ruth asked, do you need the whole team on board with accessibility? And my question on that is, that's more of a culture shift, right? I've never
Yes,
seen a lot of developers talking about, like you said, right, accessibility at first. How do you
absolutely.
shift? And it will be really good to have some practical approach to it, like you did mention in your slide, but love to hear again about it.
Yeah. So I think I would like to have the team on board, because I kept getting a pushback. We are a B2B, we are not a B2C. And I was like, what is this B2B, B2C? Someone in the team can have trouble reading what we are doing. And we're not thinking about them. We're just thinking about B2C. We are not B2C. And I was like, this is not right. Something needs a shift. And as you said, Sudhir, culture, values. We should, if we're creating a product for people, we should value people. People are the
Yeah.
center of our product. So I would definitely have my team on board, first of all. I would try and understand if they know anything about accessibility. There may be someone who has come into the team from a previous company where they've done it. So why not use those skills, right? Why not kind of understand what they can bring to the table as well? I can potentially just crack on with my testing team, but I'm creating knowledge silos here then. So I would actually have team on board. And even just having one conversation and then having features on the backlog, I feel like I've had a conversation with my team, but the rest we will continue as a team. We will continue picking up our feature tickets and implementing them. But at least everyone knows.
Yeah, I completely echo those thoughts, Laveena, because we as an organization and working with different product managers, it's now just not the testing team for accessibility, but it's product manager as well, ensuring that that's being adopted and being like taken very seriously while defining the whole roadmap. So I completely echo with that. And I guess this was all answered already, but at what point in time should we introduce accessibility? Shift left is still a wider term. What exactly where you think it should be pinching?
Yeah, I would suggest bringing into your design and planning sessions, requirement sessions, because this is where the POs and BAs will get on board. They will actually go and create things in the backlog for this. So if you're not going to bring it at that stage, I think it's going to get late and it's just going to be a bit of a let's pick and choose things. Rather than pick and choose, I would suggest put these tickets in earlier, have a conversation earlier so that the BAs and POs can actually plan your sprints and backlogs. So as early as possible.
Great.
Requirements. So the minute you hear we need to make an enhancement on the front end side of things, like we need to add a button or we need to change the contrast, first question, what are we thinking about accessibility? Are we going to do some sort of accessibility check against that button? Simple as that. So then when the ticket is created, make some comments as a tester. I will check the contrast ratio here and I will check how accessible it is on Lighthouse. And that would be my results of my test.
Those are the questions. Probably the last question from me. We do have 3 minutes.
No worries.
I heard you, and there's a lot to kind of digest from this session. In fact, very power-packed session in about 45 minutes. You covered the most critical part. But what's your challenge in last 10 years making this implemented, with kind of agile teams and they have their own priorities? What are top 3 challenges and how you really address that? Of course, there was a lot of stuff here in the slide, but just probably top 3 challenges.
Yeah, mindset is one. It's not easy to change people's mindset. They are fixed on what they want to deliver. They don't want to add something onto their roadmap. That is the most tricky one. Is as example, they said we are B2B, we are not B2C, and I was like, this doesn't make much sense to me. So I was very honest, and I took some side routes, some shortcuts. I was like, if you are not listening, I'm gonna go to the technology head then. So you have to, because otherwise some small mistake will happen and the whole team has to kind of start from scratch. So mindset was a problem. Second problem was sometimes what tools to use. It can become a question, isn't it? Like, what are we actually going to use as our baseline? Are we just going to stick to Lighthouse and Axe? Or are we actually going to do Axe and something else, because we can automate Axe and then we can use another one for backing? And then how much accessibility do we do on a system, like one of the questions? So actually understanding the WCAG, because accessibility is not a simple kind of check. We need to understand what ARIA labels mean, what contrasts mean, what is the best practice to add headings and stuff. Like I saw our websites were jumping from heading 1 to heading 4. There was no heading 2, heading 3 in between, and that was coming up as a vulnerability. So how can we bring these best practices in? So I think mindsets, tools, and how to actually say that we're happy with this.
Great. With that, once again, thank you, Laveena, for answering all those questions.
Thank you.
And to the people who have missed the session, do not worry. We are hosting all these sessions live on our YouTube channel. Go back, check it out. And again, thank you once again. Happy testing and have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.